Barbara Stewart by the Labour Party. So, question number 3, Barbara Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of Barbara Stewart.
Order. Point of order, Honourable Terry Browning.
We had earlier a series of points of order from the Right Honourable Winston Peters, protesting the rights of registered parties to be in the House and pointing out, in his opinion, that some unregistered parties shouldn't be here. Given that he is the leader of a registered party, and he stood up in this House and said that because they were dissatisfied with some proceedings, New Zealand First was withdrawing from the House for an unspecified period of time, how then, sir, can they be out of the House but actually then require people in another party to ask their questions? That's the height of absurdity.
I refer the member to Standing Order 3812. A member may ask a question on behalf of another if that member who is absent has given authority to the member to do so, and I'm advised that such authority has been given.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Social Development.
Order! If we want to have a record number of expulsions today, we're certainly heading the right way. Is this a point of order from Brendan Horan? And again, it better be order. I will hear the member.
Thank you.
But if it's a frivolous point of order, expect my threat to be fulfilled.
Thank you, sir. Noted. This is a very serious point of order.
Brendan Horan.
I seek leave for the member's order of the day number 10 to be discharged, as I think it would be helpful for those of us who wish to actively participate in the democratic process. And, sir, I believe that there is a precedent for this in the 96 to 99.
Leave is sought to discharge. Members' notice number 10. Is there any objection? Yes. There is. Right, I'm now hearing Chris Hipkins on behalf of Barbara Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Social Development. Barbara Stewart's question is to the Minister of Social Development. Does she consider the direct deduction policy of overseas pensions from New Zealand Superannuation is consistent and fair under Section 70 of the Social Security Act 1964?
Honourable Craig Foss.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, yes.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Barbara Stewart, when an overseas pension is paid to a pensioner, what justification is there for applying Section 70 to the spouse with respect to their own entitlement to New Zealand superannuation?
Honourable Craig Foss.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, this policy has been tested in courts of law over recent years, Mr. Speaker, and every single time the policy of deduction under Section 70 has been found to be maintaining the status quo.
Supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Barbara Stewart, has she received advice on the human rights implications of applying Section 70 to the spouse of a pensioner who receives an overseas pension? And if so, does the advice raise the possibility of a claim under the Human Rights Act by the spouse?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Craig Foss.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, sir, I cannot confirm that advice, but quite possibly the 2007 Labour New Zealand First review of this policy may well have considered such matters, which led to no changes, substantive changes in this policy.
Supplementary question on behalf of Barbara Stewart.
Order. The member can't raise the supplementaries on behalf of the member, so the supplementaries are being raised by...
Okay, just to clarify, Mr. Speaker, in that case, New Zealand First have transferred their supplementary question allocation to us.
Yeah,
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How would she respond to a possible human rights class action by New Zealand superannuitants affected by the direct deduction of overseas pensions?
Mr.
Honourable Craig Foss.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, we'll just have to wait and see if that was to come about.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Does she review the use of her Chief Executive's discretion under Section 70 insofar as they affect overseas occupational pensions under the direct deduction policy? And if so, when was the last such review?
Mr. Speaker, can I just say, what's the very last part of that question?
Would the member please repeat the entire question? And the reason it wasn't heard is because of the level of interjection that is coming from my right-hand side of the House.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does she review the use of her Chief Executive's discretion under Section 70 insofar as they affect overseas occupational pensions under the direct deduction policy, and if so, when was the last such review?
Honourable Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. On behalf of the Minister, I understand the last review of all the policies in and around Section 70 and the deduction of overseas pension was reviewed by the Labour New Zealand First coalition government in 2007, and no substantive changes to administration or policies were put in place subsequent to that review.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Is she aware of the concerns expressed by the United States, Canada and other governments on the direct deduction policy to the extent that these concerns will impede future social security agreements between New Zealand and these countries?
Honourable Craig Foss.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, sorry, I cannot confirm that if the Minister is aware of that, but I do know those particular issues have been raised for quite some time, and I think were considered as part of the 2000 review, New Zealand First and Labour, where they did not come out with any findings or recommendations.
Order, that's quite a sufficient answer. Question number 4, Dr Jan Yang.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Tourism. What reports has he received on the effect of the